Welcome to Raunchy Power Hour, a book club for discussing romance from the erotic to the erroneous. As always, this is an explicit podcast and contains strong language, adult themes, and sexual content. If you are sensitive to these things, we urge you calmly, but sincerely, to turn off your radio now. This month, we are reading Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon. This will be the entirety of Barbarian Lover and will contain spoilers of the entire book. If you want to read along with us, stop listening now. It's okay. We'll wait for you to come back. This book contains themes of infertility and kidnapping. You have been warned.
I'm your producer, Ashlyn.
I'm one of your hosts, Sydney.
I'm another host, Christina. Now, get ready to get raunchy.
Christina, I have a question for you.
What's that, Sydney?
If you were to crash on an icy planet full of big, sexy, blue alien men, would you decide to couple up with one of them?
Honestly, I think my answer is no.
Yeah. I figured with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking no, but how do you feel?
I mean, if the men treat me like the Sakui in this book, I don't know. It's a possibility.
It's a maybe. I don't know. The blue is not the problem for me.
Oh, what's the problem? Is it the horns, the tail, the spur?
Yeah, maybe all of that. But the blue is fine.
The ridges? All of the ridges.
All of the ridges. Yeah, I do think I have a problem with the ridges. I do think I like the snow though. I like snow.
Okay, yeah.
I'd be fine with that.
You'd be fine with that. I'm so glad. But welcome to our third installment, everyone, of us reading a book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. Woo-hoo! We have just completed Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon. As many of you know, this is the first book we ever read on RPH, and now it's become a yearly tradition that we go back to our roots and dive back into the universe of Ice Planet Barbarians. Except, Christina, this was your first experience with Ice Planet Barbarians. I want to save it for the end, but I have to know now. How was it? What did you think?
Man, okay, so it wasn't my first reading, but you guys did such a good recap. If anybody else needs a recap, we have a recap episode. And I felt like I had read it. And honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I know, right? Like
it could have been so much worse. I expected so much worse, and I was reading it, and it kind of was it was fine.
Yeah, honestly, I think I said this before we started recording, but I said either I've been drinking the Kool-Aid for too long, or this really isn't that bad. And I'm leaning more towards it's just really not that bad.
I think it's not that bad. I don't think, and no one has to drink any Kool-Aid for this one.
No. This book may have also gotten me out of a reading slump, so I will give credit to that.
It has powers.
It does have powers. I don't know what powers Ruby Dixon puts into these books, but she's helping me out. Anyway, before we jump into our general summary and everything, I wanted to go over some general info with us. All right, so this book was originally self-published on August 18th, 2015 at 191 pages. However, the special editions book is at 336 pages and was published back on July 12th of 2022. Funny enough, due to a shipping error, which is my fault because I don't know how this happened again. This is the second time this has happened. The book I bought got sent to my old apartment from college, and I'm hoping the person that lives there doesn't think I'm some freak that just keeps ordering alien erotic books. And to that person, hope you enjoyed it. So I had to read the original self-published version on Amazon's Kindle, and I think Christina, you read this special edition, and you did as well, Ashlyn, correct? Okay, so I didn't get to read The Honeymoon, so Christina gets to go over that lovely little bit of plot for us when we eventually get there. But this is the third installment in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. And our Goodreads rating is an average of a 3.8 stars out of 5, with 67,254 reviews. And on Storygraph, we have a 3.7 stars out of 5 with 15,684 reviews.
That's a high review.
That's really not bad.
That's not that bad.
No. Do you want to introduce us to our characters, Christina, since I'll be handling majority of the summary?
I can, yeah. I'm going to be real. The names are tough for me.
I'll help as best I can. I am dyslexic, as I mentioned every episode.
So the human girl we got is Kira.
Yes.
Is it Kira? Okay, everybody, we say it Kira. And she's like kind of I wouldn't even call her like necessarily shy, but she's a lot more reserved and realistic. And she was a fun one to follow around because she really changes throughout the book. And her big blue alien, I really don't know how to say it.
Ahako?
Ahako? Is that how you said it?
Ahako? Ahako?
Ahako.
Ahako? Ahako. So our big blue alien is Ahako. And he's kind of a lot. He's a jokester. And he's really, really, really into Kira. And she's like not super sure how she should be like feeling about that. But he's not shy about it. He's not shy at all. And he's kind of like like a leader. He's a jokester, but he stands up and he leads when he needs to.
Good. Do we want to? We'll chat about the other people when we get there, like Asha, Hayden, and Harlow. But of course, we have our favorites coming back as well. We have Georgie and Vectel, which was our first couple in the first book, and then we have Liz and Rahash. Rahash. He's my favorite so far.
I don't know. The small peaks of him I got.
You didn't read his book. You didn't read his book. It was good. I will stand for that man any day. Anyway. Yeah, but with that, I think we'll just hop right into our review. That sound good with you, Christina?
Sounds great.
All right. Our story begins with a bang. Because Kira can hear people banging. The translator basically has amplified a bunch of noises so Kira can hear everybody having sex. And
this part was confusing to me. The translator, because I did not read those first two. So she's the only one with the translator.
Yes. So the little gray aliens, they implanted that in her ear so that they could communicate with her so that she could tell the other girls. Oh,
so she became the translator between the groups. Okay.
Yeah. And she just still had it in her ear. I didn't know it amplified sound. That was a new aspect. But yeah, so she had that in her ear. So she's in the bachelorette cave with all the other girls who have not resonated, and she's kind of become like this den mother. And Kira has confusing feelings about Ahako because the story opens up with her being like, yeah, like he's cute and he's flirting with me, but she doesn't want to like start a relationship, and we don't 100% know why. Anyway, so she is chatting with some of the other girls. One of them is Claire. She was one of the ones who was in the stasis pods. And And we find out that she's been trying, like, sleeping around with one of the other hunters, which is fine, but she kind of like gets mad at Kira because Kira's getting all up in her business. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Kira, stay out of it. It's none of your business.
No, everyone was kind of in everyone's business because they're all living in a cave.
Yeah, I'm like, chill out. But then this is where we find out the reason she might be doing this is because all of them are kind of afraid that they can't get pregnant. And if they don't get pregnant, they'll like be thrown out into the snow. And I was like, oh, that's an assumption we've made. Okay.
And I didn't know how like based in facts that this assumption was because like I said, I didn't read the other two, so I don't know if they seemed like they were willing to throw people out, but they didn't have that many people.
The thing is like we'd never even heard them say that they would do that to a female. I'm putting quotation marks around that because I hate saying that word. But like someone who couldn't reproduce. I don't know.
They seemed to be fine, and they took them in before they even knew anything about them. So I'm kind of like, they leaned more friendly than not.
Yeah. So we then jumped. Oh, and then we also find out here that Kira cannot get pregnant because Kira, as she keeps saying, is barren.
She loved that word.
She loved that word. But she's infertile. And it's because she had her appendix burst when she was a kid. And due to the infection, it caused her to, like, the infection went to her ovaries and caused her to be infertile. So she's, like, that's a big theme throughout this whole book and her whole thing for rejecting Ehako is because she can't give him babies. And she thinks he'll hate her.
Well, it takes her a really long time to tell him that.
Yeah, it takes her so long. Anyway, we're jumping to Ehako's POV because we're doing the classic POV switch from the other books. And Ehako decides he wants to go give Kira his quote-unquote courting gift. And for those who remember from the last book, Liz gave Ehako the idea to make Kira a dildo out of his penis.
So I didn't know the build-up for this, but I did think that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Especially because you get his point of view, and the first things that you like kind of learn about him in this book is he's talking about like he wants to go race back to the item he's been whittling, and I was like, who is this creator man? And then it like goes into depth, and I was like,
it was his penis.
Yeah, because on that same page he's talking about whittling, he mentions he wants to touch that third nipple between her legs that Vectel mentioned his mate had.
Yeah, they call it that. You see, you get used to the wording of that once you've gotten to the third book. I was like, oh yeah, the third nipple. We've talked about this.
We've talked about this so quickly. You took the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid was consumed very quickly. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Anyway, an interesting plot point that occurs after this is as he's about to try and take his courting gift out, he gets stopped by Asha. Asha is a Sakui woman who had resonated with someone else, and she doesn't like who she resonated with. And we also find out that her kit died, which is very sad. Anyway, she used to go around and sleep with a bunch of the young hunters, including Ehako, and now she's trying to do the same thing. And I wish there was like a little bit more conflict, or like not more conflict, but like maybe more digging into that dynamic of a Sakui woman fighting with a human one, or like that whole dynamic. I wish we had a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, because she kept trying to like butt in, but it wasn't in a good way. Like I was like, if she had some better points to make, then sure.
Yeah, she was just acting like a mean girl.
She was a mean girl.
She was a mean girl. And I don't love it when women are fighting women in romance books, but whatever. Asha wants Ehako. Ehako wants Kira. Anyway, he goes outside and finds Kira. Kira is a little angry because she heard Ehako talking to Asha and how Asha was like, oh, you want to go like be with that human girl? Like, she's so ugly. And he goes, so? I don't think she's ugly. And Kira's like, I know, I look stupid to you. It's like, girl, you're misinterpreting so bad, but it's okay.
It's the amplified hearing was too much for me. I actually did not like that plot point.
I hated it.
She just kept mishearing crap, and I was like, that's not like, no, you're not allowed to butt in unless you actually heard the whole conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, Kira is like kind of angry with Ehako, and he really wants to have sex with Kira, and Kira's taking it as he just wants her for her body. Anyway, Kira is like upset that she felt like she was called ugly. Ehako's like, no, I really like you. And he asks her about the earpiece, which is the translator. And this is when she's like, oh yeah, the earpiece isn't as bad, because trigger warning. I'll talk about this real quick and then we can move on. But in the book, as many people know from the first one, they mentioned that some of the girls were raped, and we also find out that one of the girls lost her baby due to the little gray men. End of trigger warning. So there's like those random dark points of this book, and I really wish they weren't included.
They were really dark.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I still don't love it when it's mentioned, but we'll move on. Because I've talked about how much I hate this before. Unless, Christina, you want to talk about it, since you've never read a book with this.
We'll say going in thinking that we were reading like something that was a little bit more like of a porn book. It was very dark.
Yeah.
I feel like it really takes you out of it, where I was like, and that's the last thing you want mentioned on the page when you just showed up because you heard there was a big blue alien.
Yeah. And then literally right after is when he gives her the dildo, and you're like,
it felt off, because he says, like, it's kind of like he's trying to be funny and stuff, and there's a quote here that says, of course, the others think I'm mad for staring at my own cock for hours while I whittle. Like, that's so goofy and lighthearted and very different in the tone it's setting for this book.
Yeah, I just didn't love how it keeps getting brought up. I really wish it would kind of get dropped. Because it is erotica, but it's not my book. And I feel like, yeah, it was self-published. It happened. Continuing on. Anyway, Ehako wants to make Kira smile, and he decides to give her the dildo. And I'm just reading Ashlyn's notes because I love this, but I just love reading in all caps. Oh my God, it's a foot long and as thick as a baseball bat.
How is that possible?
I mean, we've read, the erotic encounters with Mothman. Mothman was about that long too.
I just gotta say, people who are listening, please, listener, do not use a baseball bat.
Yeah,
please.
God. Also, remember that the plant that she was picking was also space Viagra.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I loved it. I just wrote space Viagra. Hell yeah. So stupid, but I love it. Anyway, she's like, no, I can't take it. And he's like, oh, it's a gift. Take it. And she brings the herbs back to Malak, which is the healer. And Megan's in there, and Malak is checking her out, like seeing how she's doing. And she's just like, you should be able to have a baby soon. Like, your womb was like harmed, but like, you'll be fine. It'll heal. And Megan's like, yay. And this is when Kira opens up about her infertility. So yeah. After all of this, the we get a short time skip. Hunters have been gone for a little bit. They come back and everything's good because, good hunt. But then also on top of it, Megan then resonates for Kashol, and everyone has a little bit of a party while they fuck. Because, successful resonating,
and Kira hears all of it.
Yep. Kira's like, okay, I'm actually okay with the party, so I can't hear it as much. So, yeah, party happens. So they have space wine or space beer, tequila. I don't know what they made. And I have no idea, but there's music, there's like body painting and stuff like that. And
I did like the body painting. I thought that was fun. They talked about how like it's not cute. They don't focus on art a lot, and they were like, actually, we really do appreciate it. And I was like, that's cute.
Yeah,
bring back the art.
What I love too is that they're like, yeah, we draw it because like it brings us happiness and more color. And I was like, oh, that's like a pretty meaning. I love that.
I did like that. Ruby Dixon, I like that.
Ruby Dixon, I liked that. More of that. And Ahako finds out what kissing is, which he refers to as often as face fucking.
This is such a weird plot point. I know that's like already been brought up in the other books, but like, what?
Yeah,
it's so weird.
And he goes up to Kira to like make her smile, and he can tell like she's like a little more down again because she's jealous of Megan. And then they begin making out. She teaches Ahako to kiss, and they like it a lot. Ahako like tries to invite her back to his cave, and before she can like say yes, she starts hearing something in the earpiece, and she like gets really scared. And going into part 2, it's revealed that she is hearing transmissions from the little gray men, and they are coming back to quote unquote like collect the cargo.
Which, how is she hearing them? Like, I don't understand how her translator somehow connected to these alien guys who have been like pretty far away.
She's the alien Wi-Fi girl.
Alien Bluetooth. Alien Bluetooth. That's what she had. She had the Bluetooth headset that was like put into her brain though. And I'm like, yeah, that part felt strange.
It was a little weird.
I was willing to roll with it. I was like, sure. Yeah.
I just love that I wrote for this chapter, Kira is being stupid. The aliens are coming back. That was all I wrote. So yeah, Ahako gets a little sad because, she doesn't want to come back and go for a roll in the furs with him. And he goes back to his cave, and Asha's there, and he's like, get out. I don't want you here. Like, stop. And yeah. Anyway, the next day, Kira goes to Georgie and Vectel, and she basically begs to go to the Elder's Cave, which is the Google Translate ship that I lovingly called it in the first episode.
Yeah. Honestly, that was pretty on par.
It truly was. Because she claims she wants to get, like, the language blasted, and she also wants to try and get her earpiece removed. And she doesn't really tell them why she wants to go. She just says, like, I want to go. So then 3 of the other human women and 3 of the hunters and 2 of the other humans want to go. And Ahako obviously is just like, I will go with you. I will protect you. Because, he wants to spend quality time with his lady.
And that's a man down for adventure.
Yeah. Truly. He's like, I want to go be with my woman. And it's like, okay, you go, Ahako.
You're like, all right, you guys do what you want.
You go. So then in the next, she's just getting ready to go, and it's just more dialogue and her talking to other ladies, and it's like, okay.
It was a slow start, which this is honestly not a slow start, but it felt like a slow start.
Yeah, truly. But then it's the night before they leave. They've noticed the snow is starting to pick up, so they're like, we don't know if we can like make it to the Elder's Cave. Like it's really not a good idea right now. And Kira's very insistent, and she like walks off because she's anxious, and Ahako follows her. And she's talking with him, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta live in the present. You can't always live in the future. Like you gotta." Like, honestly, some pretty deep shit. He's just like, just be in the present, babe.
It was
Stop
so
worrying
deep.
about the future. He's like, just be happy in the now. And I was like, damn, Ahako. Keep talking like that. Anyway, Kira liked it.
Kira loved it.
Kira loved it because they start getting it on. And let's just say Ahako is a great kisser.
Which also, I think this is the part where he like compares her. He says, "You are beautiful, Kira, as delicate as a scythe beak," which was a very interesting compliment and world building props, because now I'm curious about what's going on here.
I know, right? Oh, also, I should mention that in this chapter is when we discover Space Potato.
Oh yeah, Space Potato.
Space potatoes. They're like they've gone out to go make snowshoes because they figured out that they could do that with the trees. And she like digs up a bulb and it looks like a potato. So they make space potato fritters. I don't know. Anyway,
you also find out that buttons and zippers haven't been invented.
No, it's just ties.
It's like, wait, now listen though. Like zippers, I get that's a little more complicated, but buttons, the concept of buttons, like, come on.
Yeah, it's a little silly. Anyway, this man and Kira begin making out, and Kira's like, hell yeah, I love this. And let's just say he takes care of his woman, and he takes care of her good.
He does, which also, I think we forgot to mention that his nickname for her is Sad Eyes.
I kind of love it. It's kind of cute.
It grew on me as it went, but at the beginning, like, here and stuff, he's like, you're allowed to touch me as well, Sad Eyes. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I was gonna say, okay, Christina, this was your first pretty erotic encounter in a book for RPH. Have you read something like this before in a book? And what did you think?
Okay, I have read stuff like this before. Honestly, I was expecting crazier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't that crazy. Like, this is not so out of the blue. Like, nothing absolutely nuts was happening. Nothing weird besides the alien.
Yeah.
I'm like, of course, like, I have not read about an alien that has a baseball bat with a spur. That was new.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm rereading it through, and I'm like, I don't know. I think A Court of Silver Flames has ruined things for me. That's my opinion.
I love that for you. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I will say, what did I write? I said, I love a man, alien, ? That makes his woman come first.
I will say, I did notice that pretty much throughout the whole book. It's like, it's always Kira first, and then he's like, okay.
Now it's my turn.
Now it's my turn. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. And especially because this is probably mostly catering to like a female audience.
You can tell it's written by a woman. You can tell it's written by a woman.
You can tell. And good job, Ruby Dixon. Good job.
Good job, Ruby.
How did this compare to the other books, though?
We'll talk. We'll chat about that. Actually, no, I'll say it now.
If your mind's
I will say the second book. The second book has more interesting spice scenes.
Okay.
Like erotic scenes. Like there's one scene where it's just after Liz and Rahash have resonated, and it's kind of like a mutual masturbation scene. And that was kind of hot.
Okay.
Not gonna lie. I love that I'm putting that out in the world for myself.
Well, okay, that's fine. Technology Power Hour, man.
It's not BDSM. Like, there's not going to be any BDSM in these books.
No,
like, it's not going to be like crazy. I'm
not gonna lie. I thought there was going to be BDSM. I thought there was going to be something where I went, I never went, Like, I never like thought about the physics of things, except for the baseball bat aspect. Like, there's no way.
Bat.
That one I said, but the rest of it felt like, I can't say it's vanilla, it's an alien, but like, it didn't feel crazy.
It's not out there. It's not out
there. It's not in outer
Ashlyn,
space.
you can say it's not a Jack's Head. It's not a Jack's Head book. It's not Siggy Shade.
God, man, I probably does not have to know what that means.
Yeah, well, oh no, we're gonna make you. You're gonna have to read something written by Siggy Shade.
No.
Can we read the new Siggy Shade book that I sent the screenshot of?
Oh, the Loch Ness Monster one? Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. And by we read, I mean I abstained from reading because I was subjected against my will.
You have to do it.
I had to do the pony play scene.
Oh, you're true. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, why do I have to do it?
Cosmic balancing.
And then next time we read a Siggy Shade book, Lauren's the only one who has to read it. And then the rest of us get to chill out. Yeah, we should do that. I forget when St. Patrick's Day is. We should do that for St. Patrick's Day.
March?
Yeah, we'll do it in March. Next month. Fuck.
Oh my god.
Next one. Fuck. Okay.
No, can I have a good one?
No, we're doing monster porn. That's all we're doing this year. Just monster porn. Anyway, yeah, so she has an orgasm and she's like, oh fuck, why did I do that? Now I'm gonna have like feelings towards him. And she basically she's like, no, we shouldn't have done that because, like, first of all, I'm a virgin, which I also hated. I hate the virgin tropes in romance books. I've come to realize that. I hate it. I don't like it.
Sorry if you hear that. That's upstairs.
No, you're fine.
Okay. I was like, sorry, that's really crazy. Okay, if you hear stuff, let me know. They're dropping. Maybe they're in their own romance book. Ashlyn, your face. Sorry. Okay.
Kira is like, yeah, upset, and she finally reveals that the aliens are coming back and she can hear them, and she's afraid they'll be able to find her. And then Ihako is that he's like, we're getting that shit out of your ear. You are my woman now. You are my mate. We're getting that shit fixed. And she's like, you don't have to. Like, I could go by myself. And he's like, nope. We're going to go talk to Georgie and Vectel tomorrow and we're going to figure it out and we're going to go. And she's like, okay. So they do that. And she confesses to Vectel and Georgie what she heard. And they're freaking out, obviously, because, you know, they don't want any of the human women to be harmed, but also some of them are pregnant now. So,
yeah, and I did like that Georgie and Vectel were like reasonable. I wasn't sure what their vibes were because I didn't read their book, but they were like, yeah, go.
Vectel is a very reasonable person. Georgie is just a doormat that everyone walks over. But anyway, Vectel thinks she's like the shit. Even though she's like the most Mary Sue of the Mary Sues.
She was very Mary Sue.
Oh my god, she's the most Mary Sue out of all the Mary Sues. I hate her so much. So they're like, okay, yes, go to the ship. And Ihako's like, I'm not letting you go alone. I'm coming with you. And another human woman, Harlow, insists that she wants to go to the Elder's Cave, which is Google Translate ship. And Ahako convinces Hayden, who is like his longtime buddy, to come too. And Kira's like, Ahako, there shouldn't be anything between us. And because she's not into casual sex and everything. And Ahako tells her that he's just like, he's not just interested in sex with her. He like wants all the parts of her. And even if like they're cooies resonate for other people. Spoiler alert, they don't. But that's like their main concern, that they will they'll have to break up because, they'll resonate for other people. Anyway, travel montage.
He keeps like saying like, he's like, you're mine already at this point of the book. Like,
yeah,
he's already in.
Yeah, and she's the one that's hesitant. Anyway, travel montage, and we get a sharing of body heat scene where they're in the cave with Harlow and Hayden, by the way. But they're like going to bed, and she's like cuddling up, and let's just say Kira gets a little handsy and begins exploring.
My favorite quote in this section.
I'll say Kira goes and plays with his baseball bat.
Yeah, she literally says, "Are you supposed to be wet?" I asked a little scandalized. And he says, "My seed cannot seem to stay inside when you touch me. Your touch is too exciting." I hate it.
Ayako is a simp. That's all I'll say.
I was like, he was like saying a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, that's correct. Like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right. That's the way to approach this scene.
And basically Hayden's like, hey, shut up. and Hako's like, yeah, we should probably stop for now. Next morning rolls around. Hako gets out of the furs with Kira, and Hayden hasn't really bonded with Harlow, but like that wasn't really surprising. You learn that Hayden's got emotional baggage. He's got trauma because apparently he had a mate, but they weren't he couldn't claim her or something like that because she died. I don't know.
He was grumpy.
He was so grumpy. He reminded me of Rahash, which I'm like,
oh no.
And I may not hate him later. Anyway. So Hako heads outside, and Hayden spotted that there was some footprints that were near the front of the cave that may have been the aliens. So they're like, oh no. Oh wait, that probably was also a hint for the later on thing with the number jump.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
Yeah, I'm confused too. We'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there.
And so basically sorry, Dad, I can't talk right now. I'm recording a podcast.
We're professionals around here. Oh,
we're professionals.
I did have a question in this area because it does say here that Hayden is more remote than Rahash, at least since he has been since he lost his mate before he could claim her. Who can say what that will do to a man's heart? My point here is they say man.
I mean,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is like an argument in a lot of like sci-fi and fantasy things where it's like not a man.
Sakui man.
Sakui man.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
Whose perspective is that section in?
A Hako.
Oh.
That's why I was confused. I was like, in his perspective, he said man?
I think it was probably just a slip, and it could have been male, but
okay,
who knows?
Yeah. In the words of A Good Place, not a girl.
Not a girl. Not a man.
Not a man. That's my side note. That's my world building side note here.
That's our world buildings. Ruby Dixon, in your porn Blue Alien series, you said man instead of male when in the perspective of one of the Sakui. What did you mean by that?
I am that person. I've become the very thing I hate.
It changed the meaning. Did you intend this?
Did you intend this? If we ever have Ruby Dixon on this podcast, which I hope someday, because I'm honestly a fan of her now, you need to ask that question.
I need to know because
let us know.
I know we're raunchy power hour, but I am kind of here for world building.
except when it takes too much after porn. Anyway, as Ashlyn, did you say in our group text that what did you say about the porn industry being the real? Did you say the porn industry is the real?
What did I say? Oh, shrinkflation's hitting the porn industry too hard. Is that what it was?
I think it was that. No, and then you replied that the porn industry is the real victim of shrinkflation.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my god. So yeah, and then they're like, oh, we gotta go because someone is watching us. So yeah. And Kira like hears them babbling in her ear again, and how they've reached where they dropped the cargo. So he literally like picks her up at one point and is like, okay, we gotta go. So they rush to the Elder Cave and they see the little green men's like spaceship like go overhead, and they get to the Elder Cave and they basically lock it, like lock the doors. And yeah, it was interesting, but she was like talking to the computer a bunch. Computer. Sorry. Like a Batman just took over me. Computer. No.
Is he here in the room?
No. Oh my god. So then Kira finds out there is a med bay, so they head that way, and Harlow goes off to explore on her own, and Hayden is standing near the door. So they make it to the medical bay. Kira hears again the little green men being like, oh, they're not here. And then they're checking the stasis pods, and none of the girls are in there. So Kira goes into basically like a surgical compartment. That's the best way to describe it. And
like med bay.
The computer talks to her. Yeah, the computer talks to her, and she's like, I'd like the earpiece removed. But before she goes in, Ahako asks her to be his mate. And she almost tells him that she can't have kids. And she like asks him like, does he want kids in the future? She goes, yes, of course. And she doesn't answer anything else after that. She says to like talk about it when she's out of her surgery. She goes into the compartment, and it will take a bit, but the earpiece will be removed surgically. And she asks some questions like, how many people are on the shift before it crashed? How many are currently living on the planet with the humans? And all that. She asks about the other aliens, and it's like, yeah, it's in the atmosphere, and that there are 16 aliens on board. And then the extraction of the earpiece begins, and Kira blacks out.
It says there are 35 modified. Is it Saw?
Yeah, Sakui.
The whole like SAKH is Sakui. Oh,
it's Saka. Yeah,
Saka. It says there are 35 modified Saka and 12 modified humans currently on the planet.
Yes. And then they said there's 16 of the little green men aliens. And like all that on board the other ship.
I don't know. And that like all that made me wonder is once again, the world building here, Ruby Dixon. And I'm very curious. Who were the Sakui before? Like, you know, like I really want to know how they had a ship that knows that they're North American English. The ship knew the specifics of Earth. I want to know. And then it has like little lights that like lead them around, and it's like basically
you're never gonna know.
I want to know.
This is Google Translate chip.
I want to know.
This is the Google Translate chip.
It's so interesting. I actually was interested in this part, and I'm sure everybody else was like, "This was the most boring part of the book." I love this part. I love the ship part. I liked it. It's good.
So Ahako's waiting for Kira to be like done surgery. She pops out. She doesn't have it anymore, but she's unconscious. So he tries to wake her up. Doesn't work. So he carries her to the main room and he talks to Hayden. And then from there, he heads to like some sleeping quarters for her to sleep. He waits for her to wake up. And in this time, this was kind of sweet. He was detailing like his ideal life with her, like what their cave would look like. And that was very cute.
He's cute. He was not my fave, but he was cute. Like,
yeah,
he was thinking about
loves
the
his
future.
woman. He loves his woman.
He loves her. We will not be resonance mates, just mates. Like, okay. That's fair.
Yeah, and he was like, you know what? If we don't resonate, that's fine. We won't have kids. Anyway, she wakes up and she's like hearing him kind of talk about their life, and she sighs, so he like knows that she's awake. And she asks him to go destroy the earpiece so the little green men can't track them. And she goes back to sleep for a while, and she wakes back up, and he's back cuddling in bed with her. So she finds out that the ship had a shower, and she's so excited. But then Ahako walks in while she's showering, and he offers to, like, you know, help her wash her body. But
he says, "I have some berries." Wink, wink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The soap berries. You didn't know about the soap berries before this.
I did not know about them, and that was interesting. Once again, world building. What?
Yeah, there are berries that they use for soap.
How does that work? I have so many questions.
It just does that, and they use it. So yeah, she's like, yeah, why don't you come in and help me? Because, you know, like, you're like big and sexy, and, you know, like, we have time together now. And she realizes that Ahako is much bigger than she thought he was, because she was like, oh my god, this carving must be an exaggeration. Nope, it's a 1-to-1.
Yeah, I mean, he stared at his own dick that long to make her quite an accurate representation.
Yeah, come on, Kira. He told you what he was doing.
He said it, and when has he lied before?
Exactly. Ahako don't lie.
Ahako don't lie.
Anyway, they get mildly, like, they start making out and, like, starts getting sexy. And Ahako calls her his mate again. And I wrote this in my notes. I never thought I would be cocked blocked by a romance heroine. Because immediately she's like, I'm barren. I can't have children. And I'm like, girl.
She said, which I'm like, all right. Like, at this point, had been eating her this entire part of the book. Like, every single thought is like, I like him, but like, I can't have kids. She always is like, but I can't have kids. He won't like me. And I'm like, girl, at what point?
You never even asked him.
You have not asked him. At what point did he make it seem like that's the only thing he's interested in? Like, he clearly likes her.
Yeah, she's stupid. That's all we have to say.
But eventually she gets there.
Yeah, and then we now switch to Ahako's POV, and he's like kind of realizing this and why she's been like so distant with him, and why she hasn't wanted to like connect with him more, because she was worried that he would want to have kids. And he tells her he's okay with it, because it basically means no other male will be able to resonate with her, and that she's all his. And I was like, okay, Ahako. I was like, that's kind of hot. And yeah, he basically is just like, yeah, I'd be happy to spend the rest of my life with you because I just like you that much. And I'm like, yeah. And he like ensures her that she won't be cast out because she can't have kids. Because he's like, do we cast out like this? I don't remember one of the females' names. The female Sakui. And she's like, no. She goes, but she's so young. Like, she can't have kids yet. He goes, yeah, but she can't have kids right now. It's like, oh, what about an elder that he mentioned? He goes, yeah, we can't. Yeah. We wouldn't kick them out.
Yeah, if they really, really cared about all that, like, the elders would be gone.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, they finally have sex. And they agree, she agrees to be his mate, and they get fucking freaky. And it was kind of good. Let me just say.
It did end with her saying, I think even if I were offered a ride home back to Earth tomorrow, I'd decline, just so I could stay with my big alien mate.
She got dick down so good, she's okay not going back to the Earth.
She was okay to never, ever go back to Earth ever again because the sex was that good.
Hey, she said it. She's like, I have like a 1-bedroom apartment. I have a bunch of student debt. Both of my parents are dead. What else do I have to live for? I'm like, you know what? I get it.
Fair enough. Stay here, girl.
Yeah, get dicked down by a big blue alien that loves you. The whole honey thing, though, I was like, oh,
yeah.
hot. It was hot.
Because they were in the spaceship room.
Yes.
At this point. So I think it was probably like better for Kira because they weren't somewhere that like people could overhear her, and she finally had the translator out of her ear.
Yeah. So she could
Like,
actually enjoy the sex.
Yeah, because I feel like she was always so like afraid just because she knew how much she heard.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? She deserved a moment.
Yeah, and she had it.
She had a moment. And I'm just curious, like, and then you've got like Harlow just out there doing something. Like,
yeah, Harlow was just fucking around.
It was so crazy. Like, she's messing around. You got Hayden at the front door acting like a grumpy little guard, and then they're just like back there getting freaky.
Yeah, basically.
Wow, what a trip! What a field trip from the cave.
Field trip. Yeah, I know, right? They so she wakes up after doing the hanky panky with Ahako, and she gets up out of bed and goes out into the ship. She finds Harlow, and they're kind of tinkering because Harlow says like her dad owned a mechanics shop, so she like knows how to do stuff. And she was thinking, well, you notice how there's like the smoothness of the big cave. I think they use like a something to like shape them, you know, and it's like a really good idea. They go and decide that they should probably get the language, the Google Translator beam.
Google Translator beam.
And Kira, so Harlow gets the sock. I don't remember the language they actually speak. Sock. And they begin to hear the noise of the spaceship outside, like the other spaceship, and they begin to freak out. And Kira's like, well, I want to get the sock language, and I also think I want to get the zzz and the bird-like language of the little green men, so I can still speak to them. Because apparently you could do 3 at once.
Yeah, only 3 at once. The convenience of it.
I love Google Translator. Spaceship. I think it's such a. Originally, I thought it was so fucking stupid, and it was a stupid plot point. Now I love it. Now I'm like, it's so silly and goofy. I kind of love it.
It's silly, goofy. I kind of vibe with it because it's like it's sci-fi. I guess you're allowed a Google Translator.
Mm-hmm. She also does like a count on the people again. She goes, well, how many like where are are all of the aliens on the spaceship? And then it announces, it goes, there are 36 Sakui and 12 modified women. And they're like,
no, it's 35. I have here 35. It says 35 modified Sak, 12 modified humans, 3 zt, and 1 chirping noise.
Yeah, so there's one more Sakui on the planet now, and it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah, because Harlow's the one to catch it, which I was like, yeah, she is, because Kira's not catching that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting.
I think it's a baby, or it's too soon.
Yeah, so I honestly thought they were hinting at that Kira's pregnant after having sex with Ahako for one time, but I guess that doesn't count because none of the other women who are pregnant, their babies count. Who cares?
No, none of them counted, so that's why they thought it was like someone had a baby early. Yeah, and then they get messed up by the sound of the jet again.
Yeah.
Like, this is so unfair. I actually care about who is that extra.
Yeah, I know. So Kira wakes up about an hour later. She has a big headache because, you know, she just had 3 languages shoved into her little brain. Finally, Ahako tells the girls about the tracks and how the reason they didn't tell them was because they were already like worried. And if either of those were like the other two alien races that they had seen, and no. Kira decides.
Could that be the modified? Sorry, this is like back on the thing of like who's that extra? Because I did have it marked here because I was confused because I thought she had heard them talking about the tracks. Like I thought she had overheard that conversation, and then she's like, "You didn't say anything to me," and I thought she had heard that. But they talk about the tracks were unfamiliar to us. He spreads his fingers as if they're pronged. 3 large spiky toes. Does that match your aliens? And she says no. The orangey aliens with the pebbled skin had 2 toes, and the little green men had small wispy feet. So is the extra Sakui have weird feet for some reason?
Maybe, we don't know.
I don't know. That's just a point. I don't know what that
Guess
is.
we have to read more. Oh well.
No, I'm not giving more reasons to keep reading.
I want all the reasons to keep going. Anyway, so she's like, well, we're gonna end this now. So they go grab any working guns from this ship. And she goes to like work with a computer. And she kind of comes up with plan B in case plan A doesn't work. And what she wants to do is she wants to try and talk to the aliens and negotiate that they won't like hurt the women or like take them back with them.
It's kind of a goofy plan B.
It is goofy. This whole next part is very goofy.
I have
aliens.
So many thoughts.
Yeah. I want those thoughts after this. After I finish this last little bit of section, and then yes, we need to talk. So the aliens are like coming towards the door, and Hako and Hayden want to go out and fight them, but Kira's like, no, they'll like definitely murder you. And that she says she'll go because she can talk to them, and but she tells Harlow that if she does get captured, to get both of them back to the cave. So she does end up going out and talks to aliens, and the aliens are like, well, hey, you need to come with us because you'll be treated well. And she's like, no, we won't. Bullshit. And they're like, and she's like, also, we've been modified. We can't leave the planet now. And they're like, well, our employers spend a lot of money, so like, you need to come with us. And she goes, no. And then this is the moment. One of them fires a gun at her, and then it hits her hand, so she drops the gun. Hayden and Ahako try to come out to kill the aliens, and then they get shot. Kira freaks out because she thinks like they're dead or hurt. And yeah, she says she'll go with them if they don't hurt anyone else. And then yeah, she just goes with them because they take her. Ahako wakes up a little bit later. He's in pain, and Harlow is able to check on him, and she kind of wakes him up. She tells him that the other aliens took Kira, and that Hayden is really not doing well, like he's dying. And Ahako makes the hard decision to try and save Hayden and come back for Kira, even though it's like every fiber in his being is telling him not to.
Which that was honestly good for him, because that's the correct move there. Like, she told him, don't worry about me, deal with them. And he actually did.
Yeah. So this is the funky part. This is when Kira does the plan. And I'm going to go through this plan real quick. And then we need to talk about how bad the plan was and how kind of stupid it was.
Talk us through it, Sydney. Tell us the bad plan.
Kira gets on the ship. She's trying to bargain with the little green men to basically like keep her alive. And they basically want to kill her to like see what happens to the symbiote. She's like, fuck you guys. Like, that's really stupid. She tells them that the shell they gave to her, that the Elder Cave Google Translate ship took it, but they can like tow it, and that they'll basically, and then they're like, oh, you'll lead us to the other woman. So they put her in a holding cell, and this is when the weird plan comes into play, because she worked alongside the computer in the Google Translate spaceship, and it told her to basically take an air filter from one of its compartments, basically, and to put it into the air filtering system of the other alien ship, because that element in the atmosphere is what like can kill people if they don't have the cooey, but it's so concentrated that it should like kill them right away, or like at least slow them down. So
I could see a 300-year-old like air filter being pretty nasty. So that's fair, I guess.
Very fair. So she puts it in to the air filter, and for several hours later, she's like really concerned that nothing's happening. A guard comes to get her, and she like clearly is not doing well, like clearly impacted by the air poisoning. She grabs his gun, shoots him, and she has to like shoot his arm off, like his hand off, so she can like open panels.
No, I have this marked because she talks about like she shoots him first in the head. It slices through the guard's head like butter, and he slumps to the floor dead. And then she has to shoot him again. The dismembered hand flies across the room.
Yeah, which I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
So yeah, then she goes throughout the ship, and it's meant to be like all tense and everything, but then you find they're all in like the main area, like either dead or sleeping. And she finds the controls to accelerate and like move the ship, and she moves it, and it begins picking up speed. And she also throughout all this had found some escape pods, and she let all the other ones go and kept one for herself, gone to escape pod and let the alien ship crash, and she was in the escape pod leaving.
I have so many thoughts on this plan. Did the computer come up with this part, the last part, or did she come up with that? Was that like on the fly? I don't know, because
the last part. I don't know how she would. It was a suicide mission. She fully believed it would be a suicide mission.
She thought it was going to be a suicide mission. The thing is that she was so successful in the first half, in that she already killed a guy, shooting him through the head, and then afterwards his dead body shot off his hand. So like, all right, that's already pretty hardcore. Like, that's more than I can say I've done. Can't say I've used a blaster on aliens. And so that's pretty crazy. And then her thought process is, get rid of it, get rid of the ship. When she finds out that everyone else is like already pretty much done for, she could, like, if she really wanted to, she could have just shot them all. She didn't even have to do that. They're already pretty sick. She could have just She could have just landed the ship. She could have landed the ship and kept the ship, because it sounds pretty
the technology.
Useful. Took the technology. Didn't have to worry about the guys who are already dying. And they're not going to be saved if she opens anything, because like the whole world of Not Hoth is hostile to them.
Yeah, because they don't have a cooey.
Because they don't have a cooey. She almost had a spaceship. That would have been so cool.
But she crushed it.
But she crushed it into a mountain. Like, why did she?
In the name of love.
That's my thoughts on it. I don't know if you feel any different, but
I don't know what I feel about it. It was a little silly. The whole thing was a little silly, but I'm like, you know what? I've read sillier in this series, so continuing on.
It's like, fine, she can get an escape pod and steer that instead of the ship.
Once I discovered the Google Translate spaceship, I was pretty gone. I was like, yep, Kool-Aid, drinking it. Not much more to say, is there? And suddenly, this breaks tradition. This is the first time we've ever had a third POV in a book. We get a Harlow POV.
Oh, so that's not normal to get the next person's POV?
No, we've never gotten a third POV. We only stick with the main two. But it jumps to her, and she's trying to get sticks so that Ahako can build a basically a trivet to help put Hayden on to drag him back to the cave. And she feels like she hears something purring. Then something hits the back of her head, but she still hears the purring. And many of us know what the purring is.
Do, 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 do.
Someone has resonated for her. Someone's secret. We don't know who it is. Anyway, Ahako is really upset because he thinks Harlow has abandoned them. And as he's like going through all this agony, he watches this alien spaceship that he thought was carrying Kira on it, still thinks she's on it, crashing into a side of a mountain, going up in fiery fucking flames. And he's like so devastated.
This part was so unfair to him. He said like that this is so sad. He had no ashes to pour over my horns, so I let the snow trickle down over my brow, and I give my dead mate the respect she deserves.
I know.
That was so sad.
Oh my god. Also, that was the first time we've ever heard anything about death rites in this universe. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the ashes and stuff. And then there was like, there's a whole thing with like, proper cut, smear ash upon my brow, chant songs of our love before I can go on without her. If I can go on without her.
He's so emo and I love him.
He's so emo. He's so down bad.
Again, he loves his woman.
He does.
He loves his woman.
This part I thought was sweet because he's like so in grief that he doesn't even like know that she's landing in her little escape pod.
So she lands somehow safe and sound, even though she does fall face first into the snow, and I was like, kind of love that. And they have like a very tearful reunion because he thought she was dead, she thought he was dead, and they're like hugging, and she's like, dude, you're bleeding. He goes, I'm okay, I really want to fuck right now. And she goes, we can't, you're bleeding. Also, your friend is dying.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of things going on.
He has one thing on the brain.
And it's fucking. Anyway. Goes like, Harlow abandoned us. We have to go if we want to save Hayden. And Kira's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like she wouldn't just go off. But they decide that they have to get Hayden back to the cave if they want him to live. And that is true. I do think it's funny that they're like, this random human girl like abandoned us. I'm like, why would you think that? Where would she go?
No, like
she got eaten. She's dead.
Like, no, you guys had to take her in because he calls her flighty, fickle Harlow over the man I have grown up with and whom I think of as a brother. I'm like, that's so unfair to call her flighty and fickle. He doesn't know her.
He does not know her.
I don't think anyone really knows her.
No.
Anyway.
We actually didn't even know about her until this book. Yeah, because she was not in the first one because she was one of the girls in the pods. And we didn't really meet her until last book, and it was like a mention, not really like anything else.
Wow.
So this is really the first time we're also meeting Harlow.
They hate her.
Yeah, they hate her for some reason. Anyway, they make the long trek back through the night to the village cave, and they run into Liz and Rahash. Guys, I hate to say it, I literally wrote in my notes, "Hello, Daddy." Rahash came back. I was like, "Hi."
No.
I was like, "Hey, babe, how are you doing?"
Are they ever allowed or are they only in the camping caves? I was a little confused.
Okay. So
that's not part of this book, but I was a little confused.
They are allowed back in the main village cave, but they don't have their own cave. They have to sleep in the hunters like cave with the other hunters. And then when they're out and about hunting, then they can go do their own thing. But it's
wait, why were they cast out?
Because Rahash stole Liz, and then Liz did like something stupid so that she could go be with him. And yeah, now they're doing that. And the reason it's like half not like them being half they've been
exiled
and half them not is because Liz is pregnant.
Okay, that's what I thought. And if that's the case, I don't know, like they didn't even really get exiled Like, that doesn't sound that bad. I don't know. Anyways.
It's stupid, but it's fine.
It's fine. I just needed to know.
Drink Kool-Aid. Just drink the goddamn Kool-Aid. um, anyway, they run into Liz and Rahash, and they see that Hayden is injured, and Rahash like basically drags Hayden back. They finally get back to the cave. Ahako introduces Kira to his mom while he's like shuffling in because he's injured. He can't see the healer because obviously she's healing Hayden. So his mom like basically does some patching up. Anyway, Asha decides to butt her head back in, and she's like trying. Yeah, but like the whole thing of like when Asha like grabbed his tail, even though we've been told it's an androgynous zone for them, I was like, damn, that's like grabbing his like whole ass dick, like right in front of his mom.
Like, that's the thing that got me, right in front of his mom stuff. I was like, come on, girl. Come on.
See, I kind of loved when Kira was like, get away from my mate. Back off.
That was like the moment for Kira to be able to like actually step up and like kind of make it.
My man's. That is hers. Anyway, everyone is surprised, but is really happy for them, and they don't really go into detail that they didn't actually resonate, but it's okay. Asha is just not happy. Anyway, everything's fine. Kira falls asleep in the whole family cave because there's not enough cave space. I don't think we've talked about that, how there isn't enough cave space. That was a big plot throughout this book, and we didn't mention
there's a lot of like not enough cave space. And then so how many Sakui are there? There's
35 now.
35 now. And okay, so I was doing the math here. He has 2 parents,
yes,
2 brothers,
4.
And then him.
He's got 3 brothers.
3 brothers?
He has 3 because he has one older than him.
Either way, so he's got like a family of 5 or 6. That's a good percentage of the people there are his family. Yeah. So there's not that many of them, but they are all shoved in there.
So remember, so what they said is like there was a big sickness, and that's actually why they're all in the main cave now, is because they wanted everyone to be under one thing so they could all be together, and that killed a lot of people. And he said that his family didn't really get affected, luckily, and that's why he was so devastated when he thought Kira died, because he'd never lost someone he loved.
I was curious because I was like, is his family just like, significantly larger for some reason?
No.
And it would make sense if his is just not affected by the sickness. Okay. Hey, that helps.
Yeah. But yeah, there's not enough cave space, so Kira and Ahako are in Ahako's family cave, and there's no sex to be had there because she's like, dude, your mom's right next door. Even though apparently his parents had sex while they were there. Like, you know what? This society is okay with sex, so it doesn't matter. So a couple days later, Kira wakes up and she's feeling so refreshed because she doesn't have the translator in her ear anymore. She doesn't hear everybody banging all the time. And she goes to speak to Dorji and Vectel and Ahako, and they all agree not to tell the other human women, that is not Liz or Rahash, that about the alien spaceship because they don't want to freak other people out. And they also discuss splitting the caves so that there's more space. And Vectel's like, well, Ahako, I was thinking about sending you and you being the one in charge there. And originally they're like, but you can't because, Kira's pregnant now. And they're like, no, we're chosen mates. We didn't resonate. They want people to like be close to the healer because, giving birth, pretty dangerous. But anyway,
it's a fight. Like, and it does come back up a bit in the honeymoon too. Like, they don't drop it. Yeah,
I figured.
Mm-hmm.
So Ahako and Kira and Vectel and Dorji, they're having discussions about who's going to the southern caves, who's staying, who will do certain things. And it's a couple days after this, and Ahako has not felt the love of his woman for a couple days, and he wants to fuck again. So he decides that he wants to take Kira to, go quote unquote check out the southern caves because he wants alone time with her. And he shows her like the whole cave system and what he has actually in mind for them, like what would be their cave. And it has some beautiful paintings because he mentioned that another Sakui woman had died due to the sickness, but these were like her leftover paintings. And apparently there's a really big tub, and Kira's like, hell yes. I want this one.
This felt like House Hunters, like Intergalactical or something.
I know.
I don't know.
I know.
Very domestic.
I love it. So then they have sex again, and Ahako, let's just say that Kira claimed the place by bringing the courting gift, and let's just say he used it on her.
He did, yeah. I think that was maybe a first for me then. I'll give it something.
You'll give it that?
I'll give it that. That was the first whittled dildo used.
I will say, I did think it was funny when he did say, he goes, I don't know why I'm feeling jealous of something I made for her. I thought that was a little silly.
He did. He kept bringing that up, and I was like, all right, buddy. Get in there.
So yeah, they fuck, and again, it's hot. Again, Ruby Dixon, really good job on smut. Thank you. And Kira is just like kind of being, Kira, and it's like, oh, I'm worried that something bad's gonna happen. But they've moved people into the new cave system, and it didn't take long for them to move in. Anyway, Asha comes to Ahako and is like throwing like a pity party. She's like, my cave's not big enough, Ahako, and he's like, no, it's fine. And
the most relatable she's been.
I kind of love her for that. And she tries to drag him away. This is all in Kira's point of view, but as Asha does, he begins to resonate, and she's like holding his hand, and Kira freaks out because she's like, oh my god, he's resonating for her. Like, how, like, I can't do this. Like, we literally just had like freaking out. Her heart is pounding in her chest, and then Ahako like tells her that he isn't resonating for Asha, and then Kira realizes that, like, because she thought like the blood rushing to her head was her own heartbeat, that she's resonating for him.
She says, it wasn't my pulse, it was my cooey responding to his.
It was kind of cute. Leave me alone.
It's cute because she was getting like so heated. Like, she was so upset.
She was so fucking upset.
This is the most that we've seen her like have, not like personality, but like stand up for something. Like, I feel like that was like the most that she's like felt enraged and like willing to say something about it. And I was like, hey, look at that.
Look at her character growth.
Character growth. She got some character growth there.
Yeah, but because they're resonating, it's time to go fuck. Because Christina, you haven't read any of the sex scenes when other people were resonating, but it's obviously it gets hot and heavy in there. Because basically the cooey is like, time to fuck, like, and Kira assumes it's because she's ovulating, and she's like, well, I never thought like I could do this because, like, my ovaries from when I was, that got fucked up. And he's like, well, maybe the cooey healed them. But I don't know if I like that. I thought that was very odd and strange. I knew it was going to be the spaceship or it was going to be the cooey. I knew one of those two things was going to make her not infertile anymore. I knew it, and I literally wrote it in my notes.
And I don't know how I feel about it. We talked about this, but like, I don't know.
And then he's like, oh, well, now we might have to move back to the other caves. And she's like, no, I like it here. I don't think I'll have to go back to the healer. And then that's it.
That's it. It ended so abruptly. She cries a little bit. Yeah, it ends so abruptly.
It ends with them probably going into round 2.
Pretty much. Like, it sounds like they're like, oh yeah, like, I don't want to move. No. Okay. My home is wherever you are. I feel the same way. And then that's it. And I was like, okay, what's the next chapter? Nothing.
So the main book.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then the honeymoon I liked more than the book. I can say that.
Okay.
I just read that and I was like, oh yeah, okay. Because it's fluff. It's 100% fluff. It does not pretend to be anything else. Ruby Dixon talks at the end that this is pretty much fluff. I would say there's 1.5 sex scenes. None of them quite as long as anything that was in the book itself. It was pretty much just a very quick scene, and then it's okay, and then continuing, and pretty much I think it's 6 months after, and you're getting them in more of a domestic state. Kira is pregnant enough to feel the baby kicking, which it would be true in a human pregnancy to feel a baby kick around 6 months. But she's not showing a whole lot. She's a little jealous about that. And it's kind of mentioned that she's like, oh, I wish I was showing more, which this is true of human pregnancies, that on your first child, you don't show as fast or as large. So that's true here.
You also didn't know, apparently Sakui pregnancies can go for 3 years.
No, they talk about that. So they're not sure. They're not sure how long their pregnancy is going to be, but typically it's about 20 months is what they're mentioning for the Sakui. And so they're not sure, but no one's given birth yet.
Oh, okay.
Because she has a little powwow at the end with the other pregnant ladies. Because the whole idea is that they're chilling in the cave, and then it's like, hey, you know what? I think that we should go see the other cave. And Kira's playing it off as we can go see the doctor and check in, but I really think you need to see your family, because Ahako is getting nuts out there with being the worrier. They talk about this she's more laid back, carefree, and he's become super worried about everything with the baby. He's like, no. And he gets afraid. And apparently, this is another side note that's brought up that was a little confusing, is that his brother has some kind of way where in his dreams, it sounds like he's kind of prophetic, and he sees things in his dreams.
Okay.
It's brought up because Ahako is afraid he had a dream where something happened to Kira and the baby. And so he's terrified, and she's a little terrified that that's true, because if his brother can see the truth in his dreams, what's stopping him, Ahako, from seeing the truth in his dreams?
Yeah.
And so they get a little stressed out. And I think it's just one of those things where they needed a vacation, and that's why they call this a honeymoon, because they do mention that she's like, we didn't get a honeymoon. This is it. So he builds up this huge sled to take her to the other cave, because it's the brutal season, and which means it's just a lot colder. So he's building up this whole sled, and everyone's giggling because he's being so dramatic. He puts all these furs on her, and I'm they say that she resembles a snowman, and I thought it was a fun little tidbit where you're in Ahako's point of view, and he's like, oh yeah, I've seen those things at the front of the caves that the human women have made. And I was like, oh, kind of cute that they make snowmen. But she looks like a snowman, so bundled up. He keeps putting furs and stuff on her and belting them so that they're completely closed off and she won't get any wind in. And I was like, this poor lady, this poor pregnant woman is probably sweating her butt off. And so he puts her all in the sled. He puts so much provisions that they don't need. And then he's off pulling the sled with her so they can go to the other cave. And they stop along the way. So it takes a really long time because they keep stopping at different caves and having sex in different caves. But it's I think you only get one sex scene, and then it's kind of mentioned from there. And then it's already it's 100% fluff. And I mean, that's why I enjoyed it. So then they get to the cave. And this is where the conflict happens, is Ahako is talking to his brother, the one who can see things in his dreams, and Akira sees them talking, and she sees Ahako have a worry face, and she goes over and is trying to say something to him, and then they're like, oh, well, we weren't talking about nothing. What? And so she freaks out because she's like, oh my god, that means that his dream was true and something's wrong with the baby. And so she's worrying about this whole time, but she doesn't say anything to him. She has a moment with the girls where they go to the big like hot spring tub in the center. And she's like, oh my God, I haven't had a warm, like the tub doesn't get this hot. And she's like, there's also a whole problem of like trying to take the water out during the brutal season. So many like little world building tidbits. And it was so random, but she's having a gossip sesh with the girls, with Georgie. I don't even remember the other girls' names, but they were there, you know? Okay. The pregnant ones were there. They're talking about their pregnancy. They're talking about like we keep like having so much sex even when we're pregnant. Like, you know, like they're just like having like chit chat. Ahako's mom is like, here, I'll make you food. So everyone's being very sweet and charming, and it's like the break that they needed. But Kira is still freaking out internally and freaking out if the baby's okay. And eventually she has sex, I think, somewhere in the cave. This is the short scene. And this is where Ahako is like, oh my God, is something wrong with the baby? And she's like, I don't know, is there? And they're like going back and forth. And this is when he's like, did the tip of my dick hit the baby's head? Like, and I was like, what is this that I'm reading? And so then they have this like kind of cute moment where they're both afraid for different reasons that they think the other person's afraid. And so they freak each other so much that they go to the doctor in the middle of the night, wake up the doctor, who is super pregnant, by the way.
Yeah, Malak.
Yeah, Malak. They wake her up. They wake up her husband, or I guess they don't have husbands, her mate, and also the child that they already have. They wake up the child. I would be pissed.
Yeah.
They wake up the child and they're like, tell us, is the baby okay? The baby's fine. And she's like, ha ha, but also please tell them to come in. We need to go back to bed.
Yeah.
And then they're fine. So
honeymoon baby. Hell yeah.
Honeymoon baby. I think that's pretty much where it ended, was it's like everything's fine. We're so excited for the baby.
We're so excited for the baby.
So excited for the baby. Honestly, I enjoyed that. I was like, you kind of missed out. You might like it.
You know what? Maybe when I finally get a physical copy of this goddamn book and not get it sent to my old apartment, I'll read it and we'll see how I enjoy it.
You should read it.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Ashlyn, do you have any questions for us?
I have actually a lot of questions since we decided to combine episodes.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off because Christina just talked so much. I'm going to start with you, Sydney. Because you've read the other two books, who is your favorite girl and your favorite alien? They don't have to be together. Just who are your favorites?
What if they are together?
That's totally fine. Then I know who it is.
Yeah, it's Liz and Rahash. That's my power couple right there. I think I didn't like Kira as much because she was too close to Georgie. Like, she was too wishy-washy and too... I don't know. She didn't have much of a personality. Like, Liz literally was just like, yeah, the reason I know how to hunt is because my dad taught me how to shoot with a bow and arrow, and, like, I lived on a farm. So, like, I know how to do this shit. And she had, like, some agency. And Kira's like, I can't do anything. I'm just a girl who has an earpiece. Does Ahako come in very close second to Rahash? Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. Vectel, looking back, I'm like, meh. Vectel was vanilla. He was fine. So, yeah, I'll say Liz and Rahash. They are my favorites.
Christina, I know that this is your first foray into the joy that is Ice Planet Barbarians. How do you feel so far? Will you be reading the next one with us?
I feel like it wasn't so bad. I was shocked by that. I will not keep reading unless I'm forced to. And honestly, I think I would much prefer if Sydney reads it and just tell me what's happened.
Nope. You're contractually obligated to read the next Ice Planet Barbarians book if we're here. If we're still doing this
If
thing.
we're still doing this in a year, sure. Because I am curious what happens to Harlow. I'm curious about the world building. Do we find out where they came from? That's what I care more about.
How do you guys feel about the smut in this book as it compares to the rest of the series or other books that we've read?
So comparing the sex scenes from this book compared to the smut scenes that we have read in, I'm going to say the same series just because that's, I know it. This one wasn't as good as the last one. And I think we just had less sex scenes. There was just less amount of smut in this one than the other ones. And we all kind of clocked that. But the quality of the smut was still good. I don't know what else I can say. I have already become a deplorable human on the internet, and I've already shared way too much. Yeah, the smut was good.
That's a fair place to put it. It was good. It was okay.
It was good. It was good smut. Was it my favorite smut? No.
What was your favorite?
What's your favorite, Sydney?
I'm not going to divulge that information on the internet.
Okay, no, but if Ashlyn cuts it, what's your favorite?
Oh, the favorite like smut we've read in one of these books?
Yeah. Any of the books we've read.
Sydney is saying things that she shouldn't be saying. And now we're able to come back in.
Christina, what do you think?
Okay, I will say, I think I mentioned this, but Silver Flames got a leg up on this. No pun intended. I think there were legs up in Silver Flames. And it didn't get that crazy here, but I don't think I have a favorite.
What do you think of Aihako's insistence about his relationship with Kira?
I don't know why I was okay with it here. I'm usually not okay with it.
Feeling kind of the same way because I wanted to scoff at the beginning, but by the end I was sold into it. I think because you're going into this book and you don't need a whole you don't need a lot of setup. It's not a book for setup, and that helped with the no setup aspect.
Yeah, I think I was okay with it too because these two characters did have chemistry. And they both had reasons why they wanted to be with the other person, but they felt like he was being insistent because he thought she was just sad and was concerned and anxious, and she was for other reasons. And I don't know, I thought it was sweet because he was like, hey, just focus on the me now and let's focus on the present instead of worrying about the future all the time. And I thought that was kind of sweet. And I think that's why I liked him pursuing her.
If he was less good at talking, it would have been creepy. But
100%.
He was a smooth talker.
He did smooth talk.
Before I ask for your final rating of the book, what are your predictions moving forward? We had so much plot.
There's so much fucking plot. There's gonna be a new bachelor on the ice planet who we haven't met before.
A hot new barbarian has entered the villa.
That's good.
That was really good.
I'm sorry to all our listeners in the UK. I'm so sorry.
That was really good.
I think Harlow might be the next book. I don't know.
I definitely think Harlow.
I don't
are the
know.
Footsteps the alien we don't know, or is there something else on the planet?
Okay, I've been thinking about this. This has been in the back of my mind this whole time. I think that alien is quite like smart, and I think he has like snowshoes or something, and he like purposely has that so that they don't know it's him. I think they're snowshoes. That's where my brain's been going.
That's not bad. That's not a bad idea.
Interesting.
I've been thinking about the plot. I like that it was plot heavy.
She like that it was plot heavy, not porn heavy.
Hey.
And I like what?
I'm a simple girl, and I like plot, and I like world building in my smut.
Look, me too. I am Branson till I die. If I didn't like world building, I wouldn't read through his 1,500 page books in like 4 days. I love world building. I don't pick up a smut book to have a mystery that goes unsolved until the next one.
Okay, that's a good point. I do hate that it felt very much like a oh god, like a soap opera where it's like it keeps you going because nothing truly happens in the one book. Which I have a complaint about a lot of like TV shows that do that. Like nothing happens in the episode and you just keep having to watch the next one for something to happen. This book kind of felt like a bad episode of TV where not a lot happened.
But I think it's the trash TV of books, and I couldn't look away, and I kind of loved it.
It's like the Riverdale, the sci-fi Riverdale.
Riverdale wasn't even fun at the end to watch because it just got too cuckoo bananas. But
it got too crazy. But you do have everyone pairing up, which I feel like these books 100% have everybody pairing up.
I'm choosing to couple up with a Hako.
When we were in college, I tried to convince Sydney to do a Riverdale like a watch through with me, and she said no.
Bro, if you want to do one recently, I've been wanting to do one lately because I just want something dumb to watch. So
girls' night. Sydney, now will you join me?
Just until wait until I can drink again.
Get high and be over it.
Okay, I'll get high.
Oh god. Okay, guys, what is your final rating? That was really close to the mic and really loud. I'm sorry.
So, I actually had to update one of my old ratings for one of the other books to put this one where it needed to be.
Oh.
I raised Barbarian Alien to a 4-star.
Wow.
Which was the second book. Ice Planet Barbarians is still a 2. It was bad. But Barbarian Lover is a 3-star for me.
Wow, a 3-star.
The smut was good. I didn't hate the characters. Didn't love Always Curious POV, but I really liked Ahako's, and it was very digestible. And I think this may have gotten me out of a reading slump. So she deserves 3 stars. Christina.
Now I'm thinking, I forgot that I have to rate this. And this is tough. Because in my opinion, a 2-star book is like the worst of the worst. It's like forgettable.
Mm-hmm.
And a 3, because like a 1-star book is
forgettable.
Like, yeah, is it forgettable? I think it's moderate because it's definitely not like a 3-star. So I'm gonna say like 2.5. I'm giving a 1/2 star, 2.5.
2.5.
I don't think I would not pick it back up, but I wouldn't be opposed to being forced to read another book.
Okay.
It would have to be forced. I'm not going to just go pick it up.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. See, a 3 for me is like, yeah, there were moments I had fun reading it, but I don't think I'd read it again. 4, I liked it. I would recommend it. But 5 is where if I'd read it or not. So I get it.
A 4 is a reread. 3 is not a reread. So I'm safe in that department. But I don't know. 2.5. I'll stick with
2.5. Okay, that's good.
I do have to agree. A 2 is forgettable because I only give 1 stars to books that I hate.
And this wasn't hated, and it wasn't totally forgettable. There were some funny aspects, like the whole like crash the alien ship, don't save it.
The smut was good.
The smut was fun.
Put on a t-shirt.
Yeah, the smut was good.
Was good.
That was good.
And with that, that is our 3rd annual reading of Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon, specifically Barbarian Lover. If you liked listening to this episode, we have 2 other anniversary episodes. One is our very first one. Don't hate on us. We also did a recap for Christina because this was her first book. If you liked it and you want to let us know, go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X. I think we have a Threads, Goodreads, YouTube, and Twitch. Also, if you want to listen to more, we have a ton of other episodes. Go find them wherever you're listening to this podcast. I don't know where you're listening from. But with that, I'll say goodnight to you seductive Sakuis.